There you go. All right. We are back. Episode 4. Uh, Derrik over there having some major technical
Yeah,
difficulties this morning with computers and cameras
computer.
and
Yeah,
whatnot.
yeah.
But
My camera is Frankensteined together at the top of this little computer, and it probably has 45 minutes to an hour of balance time on it, and then it's going to go down. So hopefully we get through.
well, yeah, hopefully we'll get through this one. In this episode, we are planning to cover the most frequently asked questions that we get about golf simulators. Both Derrik and I get questions from emails and
Text.
video comments and all kinds of stuff. And we see a lot of the same ones repeated, of course. So we're going to do our best to try and cover those today. But first, just want to catch up. Is there anything new with you and what you got going on this week? Any progress on the new software?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It looks good. I don't know when I'll have something to show that you'll be able to see, but yeah, we got a course going into it. So there will be at least one course so far to mess around with. It's so new that I've only seen some pictures of the course. I haven't even been in it yet. So I think he's wanting to get it all. The guy that's helping me with it's wanting to get it all worked together before he sends it over. But yeah, that's software wise, just that, and then trying to get stuff out before Black Friday and all that for people that ordering stuff and
Yeah, so we're recording this right now. It's the
21st,
Thursday before Thanksgiving.
20th. Yeah.
So a lot of Black Friday deals already announced. Very busy. I don't know if you see an increase. I'm sure you do in your business, but just from the comments and emails that I'm getting just off social media and stuff, it's just everybody's looking at everything right now.
Yeah, Unicore seems to be 30% off right now on everything, which is the biggest one I know of that makes it. I mean, that's a big drop when you're talking.
I have to admit, they got me. I ordered an IXO.
Did you? See,
I did.
I'm still rocking this QED. And the only negative is just the marked balls, but I have 2,000 of them sitting over there now. I can use whatever I want. So that part's not too big of a problem, but so the IXO, yes, you're going to IXO. What are you doing with all these other ones you have? Just messing around with them, or are you going to get rid of them?
Well, so I always have the plan that I'm going to resell them after I've, reviewed them or whatnot, but I really haven't. I like to kind of hang on to the launch monitors so that I can, like, for example, the SkyTrack.
If they do something new, you'd like to be able to go back and hit it up. Yeah,
exactly. Like, so, you never know when there's an update or something that I'm going to want to cover or test out. So I kind of just hang on to them. And the IXO, I kind of have to admit, I mean, it's been out for a while, so it was a little bit more for me. I think I wanted to switch to the IXO and then maybe let go of my iMini and just use the IXO to cover Unicore.
So they're all basically the software is the same on all of them.
Right.
If you don't know that, I mean, you probably do. But if somebody listening doesn't know that, it's all based out of one central software, and then based on the launch monitor you have, it'll show it at the top, but everything else is the same. So if you do jump from one Unicore to another, it's not going to be a culture shock of.
Right. Looking forward to putting it on the ceiling. It's my first.
It's so much better.
Ceiling mounted. Yeah.
So much better. It just feels more free.
Yeah.
And the IXO is good. That's what I recommend to. That's a cover-all answer. If someone says, what should I get? And they don't really care about price, IXO will fit anybody for what they would need. That's good data, easy to use. But now, though, I'm pretty sure with Unicore now, they don't offer the free lifetime third-party access like I have from original being grandfathered in on it. At least
that's
I hope
right.
I still am.
Yeah, they brought down the price of the launch monitor, but then added a subscription for that. So,
and that's $200, I think, a year for third-party access.
Yeah,
it's either 100 or 200.
Yeah, $199 for yeah. You're a little off camera there. You're about half your face. There you go.
Is that better? Oh, see on my screen, I'm all right. Let me go that way. Yeah, there we go.
That's better. I'm not sure.
It won't be like this.
Technical difficulties.
I don't think anybody's watching. You're probably listening.
That's true. I did get the Square.
You want one to mess?
Talked about last week and just unboxed it yesterday, and only had enough time to really just connect to it. I connected to GSPro, and hit about 10 shots just to make sure that, it was working, but haven't really gotten to dig into it yet. But
It is marked balls, right?
yeah, well, they send you a sleeve of marked balls. And from what I read on the site, it's marked balls are preferred. You can use other balls, but
It's
if
just
you
going to
want
calculate.
better data, marked balls. So
I had somebody try out my marked balls that I have, and they said they had out of 50 shots, 4 or 5 that read a 0 spin. Out of 50, so I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know how many there. I know that even with their balls, they have some issues sometimes, just because it's a
yeah,
lower end launch monitor, but good for it's a good one.
that'll be a question for me: is do I have to use their marked balls, or can I use like Callaway or TaylorMade
Right.
ones, or just anything else? Like what can you get away with?
Yeah, so I don't know if that software is designed to look for a pattern on a ball or
Right,
just something on a ball.
right.
Yeah.
Or can I
So
just take a Sharpie and put dots on my
yeah,
Pro V1?
you let me know how that works out on your screen.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Didn't think that one through very much, but
No,
yeah,
you didn't.
won't be doing that.
One shot, and you would have stopped that. Yes, don't put markers on a ball and hit them into your screen. That's
Yeah,
why
you
you
got to
don't
even be
use like
careful.
balls from or dirty balls either, or
Yeah,
dirty clubs.
if you put your initials on your balls or whatever and keep them in your
Don't do
golf
it.
bag and then pull one out and use the simulator,
Yeah,
be careful.
don't. I've seen a lot of videos of them trying to get stains out and people trying to get stuff out, and I don't have a good answer for it, nor do I want to. I'd like to maybe dig into it one day if I have a screen laying around that's got a rip in it or something. Maybe you can try a whole bunch of stuff and see what works and what don't. But I don't want to deal with it with my screen.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. All right, so
I guess new GSPro came out, or Garmin came out with that adapter for the R10 directly to GSPro.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
So
that.
now, because of the release of the R50 with the direct connection to GSPro, they have one for the R10. So
Yeah. Now it doesn't have putting, so if anybody wants to do putting, they're still going to have to use the other one.
right, right.
But I saw one guy say that his shots read better now. I don't know how. I never had any problems with the other one, but yeah, I think that's all it's new in the sim world. Some more people's been trying the R50 out. Seems like it's coming back okay. I don't see anybody just destroy it and say that it's garbage or anything.
Yeah, I think from all I've seen of people that have actually got one now, they're happy with it. I haven't heard
Yeah.
any major complaints. Just seen comments, people questioning like what was it? Somebody said something about comparing it to TrackMan, and there were like some screenshots of some crazy spin data.
But see, I wouldn't put a TrackMan against anything though. I mean, yes, TrackMan sounds like the big bad name in the industry, but on a radar indoor,
Right.
I don't care what it says. I'll take a camera system any day. And then I guess, you're going to have infrared issues when you try testing certain launch monitors that are all infrared. I've tried that before with the QED and the Wiz Eye, and it just doesn't, weird things happen.
Yeah, TrackMan 4 indoors. I mean, that's kind of the whole reason they made the IO, right? I mean, TrackMan 4 is, as good as it's going to get from a radar launch monitor, but yet they still felt the need to create an indoor, something better for indoors, basically.
I don't know if it's true, but I heard the camera was just to see strike location. Like, it doesn't follow ball stuff. They still use the regular radar stuff for that, which I would believe based on video that I've seen. Like, I've gotten pretty good of seeing people hit balls into screens and kind of knowing on their swing like what the ball should have done, just from seeing it so much. And I've seen a lot of TrackMan balls that just are a little. And then I was watching Joe Legowski today, and he mentioned something similar to that. That even with a TrackMan indoor, that you're still going to get its radar numbers, which are not going to be as good as camera numbers.
Talking about the IO, the overhead.
Yeah, I think I think that camera on there is only to find out where the strike location is, so it can put that into its algorithm.
Interesting.
I don't know. That's not based off of anything. That's based off of what Joe said.
I
Joe
haven't
knows
really
more.
dug into to all that too much because it's not something that's really on my radar.
Yeah, it's not
no pun intended.
But,
radar. Yeah. Anyways, that's a whole nother topic. Let's jump into the most common questions that we get about golf simulators. What do we have here first on number one? It was, how much space do I need? Will this room that I have work? We get those
Yes.
questions all the time. It's this by this by this. What do you think?
My stock answer is if you can swing a club, probably.
Okay.
That's the base. I mean, if you can swing a club, chances are there's not going to be anything. You'll be a way to do it.
Yeah. I think what throws people off a lot is, well, I guess every dimension will throw somebody off. It's hard to get the height, the width, and the depth all the time. Obviously, depth can be overcome if you're using a photometric launch monitor. Like you said, as long as you can swing a club and have just a little bit of, you know,
about 3 feet or so of room for the ball to fly. But even then, you need
yeah,
more than 3 feet to swing. So
right. So, I mean, depth can be overcome if you're using a radar like a Garmin R10 or a Mevo Plus, or like we were just talking about. You know, they're pretty clear on how much ball flight is needed and how much space between the radar and the ball, and that's going to be pretty far. I mean, it ends up being, 18,
16
20
feet.
feet total.
Yeah, 16 I think is minimum for the Garmin because they
Yeah.
well, I think
And
it's
then,
like 6 and 8, and even if people that run 8 feet have a hard time with the higher ball speed numbers because the ball's only traveling 8 feet and it's not enough time for Garmin to really get a grip of what the ball did.
right. And then you got to factor in some space, like if you're going to use a net or if you're using an enclosure, the space for that and a little bit of space between that and any wall, so you're not putting holes in your walls. So that would be the length issue, and you can kind of calculate that out. But if you're using a radar unit, but if you're using a photometric unit, as long as you can swing a club safely and have room for the ball to hit into something, that's all it needs.
Yep. And height, I know some people that only can swing up to like a 5-iron or a 4-iron. And that's as far as they go, which is still fine because there's ways in the sim software like GSPro where you could put your driver on a boost and then just hit your 5-iron or whatever that highest club is, and you're going to get the boost out of it. So as long as you hit it good, it'll give you like a 2 times the distance of it. So you can still compete and play and, still hit drives 250 yards, even though you're not technically hitting it 250, but so some people have to.
Yeah. Height's a little bit of a tough one because it can be different. I mean, everybody is a different height and has a different swing. So I think like the standard, if you had to just pick a number, like a baseline would be 9 feet, right?
8'11" is what my first one was.
8'11". So yeah.
And I'm 6'5". I'm sorry, 5'7".
Bruce McDuffer's 6'5".
No. Yeah, Bruce McDuffer's 6'5". I'm 5'7", and I could swing fine in 8'11". Because if you have a 9-foot basement or a 9-foot, chances are it's not exactly 9.
Right.
It's going to be just a hair under, so make sure you measure it. But 8'11" is what my first one was, and I was fine.
Yeah.
Now, if you swing flat, you're going to be able to get away with more of a lower ceiling versus if you have a big high Matt Wolf swing kind of thing.
Yeah, I've got just over 10 feet in my garage, so that wasn't an issue for me.
Yeah.
But if you are kind of short on it, then people start thinking about, okay, how high is my stance mat? Is that going to raise me up?
You're going to lose
3 inches.
Yeah, absolutely.
How close am I cutting
10
it
is
here?
a happy space. If you get 10, you should be good for most people. I mean, unless you got a super tall guy that swings straight upright, 10's good.
Yeah. And then when it comes to width, that's a whole nother issue. I just had someone email me yesterday, and he sent me kind of 2 rooms, the dimensions of 2 different rooms he was considering. And I felt bad because unfortunately, I had to tell him, I don't think it's going to work. I told him it could work if you had a net, because nets just take up a little less space and you don't have to worry about offset on a screen or whatnot and just put a TV on the wall.
Yep.
But I generally tell people for width, minimum is like 12 feet. If you want to be able to hit every club and not worry about anything. And that's exactly what I have is 12 feet. I feel like any smaller, you may have to make some sacrifices.
Agreed.
Like going back to not hitting driver or, just playing par 3s, irons only, that kind of thing. Or like I said, just go to a net.
And so I would agree. My first one was 12, and that was a good size. Obviously, if you're doing 12 feet and you have right and left-handed, you have a whole different conversation to get into. But you got to think that your right-handed person's going to be hitting 3/4 of the screen on the right, depending, there's some ways that can be taken different, I guess. But if your room is really only 12 foot wide, then yeah, you're going to be hitting to the right side of your screen, because if not, if you put a ball in the middle, that's only 6 foot from the wall, and that's not really going to happen for most people.
Yeah.
So you have to slide that over. So now if you got a right-handed person, they're hitting on the right side. A left-handed person's going to be hitting on the left side, which means if you have a certain launch monitor, you're going to have almost any launch monitor, you're going to have to pick it up and move it a good deal with that setup, but it's still possible.
Yeah. I think if you're talking about a short, like 12 foot wide, and you're trying to do the lefty righty thing, they're gonna be offset in both directions,
right?
Pretty far. And so maybe like the hitting zone between left-handed and right-handed might be something like 4 feet apart.
I'd say that's about right. Yeah.
And so yeah, what you're saying is with the launch monitor, I don't know. I mean, maybe IXO2 or Foresight Falcon. I don't know exactly how big those hitting zones are.
I think they're only 2 foot tops.
Yeah. Yeah. So
you have to put a slider in. I've seen people do that. Where they mount the IXL on a slider and they can literally just slide it.
Yeah.
So it can be done. It's just not going to be,
So then the perfect width. So let's say left-handed, right-handed are both able to hit from dead center.
Over 16.
16 feet?
Over 16 or more. Mine's 15 and a half. When I hit driver, I'm just a little bit off of center. I'm sure I'm not going to hit the wall behind me, but I still feel like I could. So I kind of push it a little bit to the right of center, away from me from center. So if I have a left-handed person, and they probably would do the same thing, they would be a couple inches away. So that's why I would say 16. 16's, that extra 6 inches would be about right.
Yeah, I would agree. 16 would be perfect. I think if you have maybe 14 to 15,
you can get away
it
with
could still be perfect, especially if instead of if right-handed, left-handed are using one of those bigger hitting zone launch monitors like IXO2 or whatever, then we're talking about a difference of maybe a foot or something between where the ball is going to be. So it's still in the same hitting zone. That could maybe still work. But I just feel like you need, I think I measured it before, probably like 7 feet from the ball to the wall behind you to feel comfortable. And so that takes you 14. So probably 15.
Yeah, I did a commercial install once that was 15 and a half. I mean, that's all they had. So, and it works. So, I mean, it works.
Yeah.
But if I had to say perfect, I'd say 16. But just because even watching them, I kind of felt uncomfortable with that ball or the club on the backswing. It's probably honestly 10, 12 inches off, but and that seems like it's closer than in a full swing.
Yeah, we could talk about indoor swing syndrome. That could be a whole
that's a
episode.
That's serious.
But if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's basically where you swing the golf club differently, kind of subconsciously, just because you're indoors and you're enclosed, and you might think that you're swinging exactly like you would outside, but you're not.
No, and it takes about a week and a half. One way to get over that, I tell people, is to hit foam balls. Hit a whole lot of foam balls. And then that'll kind of let you realize, okay, I'm free. I mean, I'm not going to get hurt with a foam ball. It's not going to bounce back and hit me. And you kind of get more free and loose. And then, but it takes about a week, I would say, for most people to kind of get over that pressure that they feel from being, 10 feet from a screen and 8 feet from a wall. And, golf balls hurt when they hit you.
It can happen even if you have plenty of space, just being indoors. But if you're trying to set up like your own setup and you're talking about all these minimum sizes like we were just talking about,
it's definitely
that's kind of what you worry about, is like, okay, I know the ceiling's right above me, so I'm a little flatter or not as long of a swing, and you don't even know you're doing it. But
definitely happens.
Hate to spend all that money and then be kind of struggling with that. So
absolutely.
So we covered the first question, I guess, which was, how much space do you need? We kind of mentioned offset. And so that would be the next question I get all the time. I think Derrik agreed. But so if you're offset, which means you're hitting the golf ball from either right or left of center, depending on how much space you have, if you don't have that space, like for my example, I've got 12 feet of width, and so I have to hit something like 20 inches to the right of center, just so that I have room to swing the club and not hit the wall behind me.
Yeah.
So it's very common. A lot of people have that. But the question we get all the time is, where do I aim? Or where am I going to aim whenever I get this all set up? So it's they're either asking, okay, my golf ball is to the right side of the screen. Do I aim back to the center? Am I going to angle everything back to the center? Or do I go straight at the screen and I'm just going to be hitting, in my case, the right side of the screen? Derrik, you want to explain that one?
B is the correct answer.
B is the correct answer.
Yeah. So if you think about it, like if you think of a sky track, it sets on the floor. It's perpendicular to where you're hitting. It knows a horizontal launch angle of 0 is 90 degrees from where the ball is setting and what it thinks where it's setting at. It may not be exactly 90 degrees, but that's what it's going off of. So as you're looking at the screen, if you hit a ball at 0 horizontal launch angle, which is left to right, 0, the ball is going to start straight from whatever the image on the screen is. That's going to be what straight is. If you're hitting to the left of the center of the screen and the ball is at, the 6 foot mark on a 12 foot wide screen, and your flag's at the 5 foot mark, and you hit to the left, that ball is going to, the ball is going to shoot off to the left because the horizontal launch angle is going to be -8 degrees or whatever it may be, which means everything's going to go left. Now, if you do have a sky track, I do see a lot of people hit everything left from the beginning because they're afraid to hit it. They're afraid to actually hit the sky track, so they pull everything left. So that can throw you off a little bit too. But yeah, the ball goes, whatever straight would be, is 0 horizontal launch angle. Is that answer there?
So the answer is B, right? We're gonna hit straight square at the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So your question might be then like, well, what is it? You've got this difference in the image versus what I'm aiming at, but almost every golf simulator software has a setting for that, for an offset setting. So what that does, if you can adjust that to line up essentially your target on the image with how much offset you are in real life from center. It shifts the image that direction.
So default, like your flag, if you were putting or whatever, the flag's going to be, if your screen's 12 foot wide, the flag's going to be at 6 foot. That's just the way the software is designed. But if you're hitting everything into what would be the 7 foot mark, which would be a foot to the right of center, then what you would do is that image is going to get moved. So now when you look at your screen, you're going to see your flag off to one side or the other, which visually it helps you because people do want to pull left if they're seeing. I mean, you can do it. Like there's people that don't know about how to change the horizontal offset, and they learn how it works, but it's a little bit easier when you're looking at the right.
Yeah. I've got a whole video on my channel where I go on the Friendly Golfer channel where I go through most of the most popular software and show how to make that adjustment, because that's something that most people, when they're setting something up for the first time, have this question of how's this going to work? And ultimately, it's really not that big of a deal, and most people have some offset because they just don't have that 15, 16 feet of width.
Right.
Or they have a wall behind them, in some way. So they've just got to be offset some amount, and it's really not a big deal in most cases, and you can just make that adjustment in the settings, and the picture will look pretty normal. So, yeah. All right, what was our number 3 most common question?
If I touch my mouse right now and this whole thing moves, I'm gonna lose my camera, so I'm not touching.
Okay, I found it.
That's on you to find.
All right, number 3 is, will this computer work for my simulator? This software,
like buying a car. Will this car get me to work?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of questions that go along with that.
So that's probably maybe the most common question ever.
I would
when
agree.
It comes to this. How do you go about answering that when you get that question?
Ask them what they want. Like, what do they, when they say, does this work? Like, if you're wanting to buy a car to race with, and will this car work? Well, it depends. Are you wanting to race it, or are you wanting to just get to work, or are you wanting to show it off? What's the purpose that you're looking for? If you're just wanting to skate by with a bare bones setup that just has okay graphics, then it may work. If you're wanting like this crazy 4K experience and super fast and all these cameras hooked up and you want to be able to see your swing, and it also may work, but there's a whole lot more into it than just will this work. It's kind of more, you need to start that question with, this is what I want and expect. Is this computer that's going to give me that?
Yeah.
To that, and just check if you're looking for GS. I think most people just ask that question because they're wanting to know, will this run GSPro? Might be a better question. You can go to the GSPro website and it will show you the minimum requirements and then the recommended, and graphics numbers of cards are goofy. So like you would think like the number's higher, you would assume that it's better. Like a 4060, I mean, but like it'll say there a certain number or better. That confuses me still to this day. I know that like the generation is the first two numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the second one is the version of that. And I know there's some differences in them, but I know that I have a 3050 and it runs just fine, but it's not recommended by GSPro to, for the max 4K experience, but it will do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So on the GPUs, I kind of, I'm not an expert in that either. I don't exactly know, every different one, but like you mentioned, the series that starts with 30
Right.
is a little bit older, and now they're on the 40 series. And then, like you said, the last two numbers, generally the higher the last two numbers, the better. And then they have some like designators after that, like TI or Super.
Right.
Usually what I do is, see if I can share my screen. I will go into a website called User Benchmark.
I have one issue with this website, but go ahead.
Okay, so what I would do is, since on the GSPro website, they list the RTX 3060 as recommended for 1080 experience. So I would grab that. And then I think somebody asked me about like the 4050, which I was not really familiar with. Oh, it's a laptop one. And then I'll grab that. And why is this not working? Compare that and this. There we go. And then you'll get them side by side.
Right. Now, my only issue, because I've used this before too, is a lot of times the graphics card that they show, I don't know if like mine doesn't look like the one that they show. And I don't know if that affects it at all. Like, am I looking up the right one, even though the number, like it says 3060, but that's not what mine looks like, that kind of thing. Because I've done this before a lot and they don't match. So I don't know if it really matters or there's different versions of them.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, so like,
I'll find out for everybody.
I have no idea. But this is just kind of where if I know, like from the software company, or like GSPro, for example, if they're saying recommended 3060 or higher, I look at 3060 and then I look at what somebody's suggesting they buy and just see, in this case,
it's 3% better.
Yeah, 3% better. So very, very close to the same, basically.
Right.
You'd probably be fine. So on GPUs, I look at that. The other thing, if somebody asks me, I always try to remind them, if they're talking laptop or desktop, you're going to get better performance for your money out of a desktop.
Easier to repair.
The laptop version of a card is not the same performance as the desktop version of a GPU. So if it's a 3060 in a laptop card, it's going to not perform as well as a 3060 in a desktop GPU. So you may want to step up the laptop card to match whatever recommended specs you're getting. Aside from that, I would never buy a computer with less than 16 gigabytes of RAM. That's where we're at now. Yeah. You can obviously do more. It'll only help. But and that's about it. The other thing I would just say, especially if they're looking at a laptop, which laptops will work, it's no problem. But just check your ports. Make sure that you have enough USB ports for swing cameras, or extra adapters, or all kinds of things that you might need, HDMI, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I have people. If anybody wants a laptop, if it isn't just so you can move it around easy, I wouldn't get one. Unless you're, if you say like, oh, me and my friends, we go to each other's house every week or whatever. Okay, get a laptop. I won't. That's not a strike against you if you want one for that. But if you're setting up a permanent spot, just get a desktop. Save yourself money. If anything breaks, it's a couple $100 away from fixing whatever it is. The laptop, anything breaks, you might as well pitch it because it ain't worth going through and getting the screen fixed or the whatever goes wrong with them is a whole lot harder to fix.
Yeah. I went with a laptop for a couple years just because it was in my garage and I just wanted the portability, which I hear a lot. And then ultimately I just switched to a desktop and got a cabinet in here. And, I never took my laptop inside, only occasionally if I wanted to bring it in for some reason that I needed to use it inside, but I left it in the garage all the time.
I got two things that happen to me all the time since you said cabinet. I'm going to bring this up. Number one, if you put your computer in a metal cabinet, don't complain about Wi-Fi and Bluetooth problems because I've seen that happen. And also, this is the biggest one. I get this once a week. If you buy a computer from somebody, a company or whatever, on the back, sometimes there is a your Wi-Fi antenna and your Bluetooth antenna on the back of the computer. They don't ship them with the actual unit because they'll probably break off. So they're normally in the box somewhere. I have people that call me and say, my Bluetooth only works 1 foot or 2 foot away from the computer. Talking about a control box. And I always say, on the back of your computer, are there two little gold plug-ins that look like a coaxial cable? Similar to that. And they'll say, yeah. I said, is there anything plugged into those? They say, no. Then you don't have an antenna plugged into your computer at all. Chances are it was in the box. It was in the styrofoam somewhere. And you're just running off of what's basically in the computer itself with no antenna whatsoever. So don't put your computer in a metal box unless you're running everything, hardlined into it because you may have problems. And two, make sure you have your antennas. Don't throw those away. They're $4 on Amazon if you have to buy them, but I've seen that at least once a week for like the last 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah. And also whatever you put your desktop in, if it's a cabinet or something like that, you want to consider overheating. What kind of ventilation is there?
Yep. Absolutely.
The one that I did, I actually cut a hole in it and put a fan in from Amazon. I'm going to show all that on my channel at some point, but haven't gotten there yet. So yeah, I mean, those are kind of all the tips I think that we give about computers and kind of how we go about answering that question as best we can.
Yeah. That question just begs more questions. I mean, there's too much to... I've had 2 people reach out to me, though, already from this and say, you said it was okay to message you if I had a question.
Oh, no.
Yeah, absolutely. Ask away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's working. What we're doing is working. People are asking.
Well, what's one more? Okay. This one, I don't get it myself so much, but I see it asked online all the time. And it's usually from somebody that is just fired up GSPro for the first time. And it's, my launch monitor isn't connected to GSPro. I see it in the launch monitor software. It works when I hit the ball, but on GSPro, nothing.
Nothing happens.
So I actually, let's just pause here and let me open GSPro and all that stuff so I can share that. Let's see here. Okay, you there?
Yep.
Okay. You see my desktop with GSPro?
Yes.
Okay. So this happens all the time. People don't realize that at first when you open GSPro, you should have 2 windows. You should have the GSPro game window, and you should have this other window here that I call the connection window. And the connection window needs to stay open all the time, and that's what connects to your launch monitor and maintains that connection. There's different ones. This one that is on the screen right now is the Open API one that is going to work for stuff like SkyTrack or, in my case, the Square. That's what I was just using it for yesterday. And you can see at the top that it's all red. This top line is all red, so there's nothing connected. So you're going to want to make sure that your launch monitor is connected to the computer, whichever way that launch monitor works, whether it's Wi-Fi or plugged in USB, Ethernet, however it works for your particular launch monitor. And you're going to want to make sure that this window stays open and that you have the right window. So, if you're trying to use a Mevo Plus, there is a flight scope connection, and all of that is chosen whenever you purchase GSPro. You choose your launch monitor. And so if you don't see it, the one that you have there, you choose Open API. If it's flight scope, you choose flight scope. If it's Unicore, you choose Unicore. That should all match. So what happens if you don't see this connection window, or you see the wrong one? What you can do, let's just say you see the wrong one. First, you can hit clear settings, and it'll close. If you have a different one, sometimes it say clear settings and exit. Sometimes they're in the settings tab on that connection window, but you want to hit something that says clear settings. There should be a button. And then in the GSPro window, go into settings, go into system, and then right here, reset GSPro Connect. Click that button, and it will open up, and you should see your options for the window for your launch monitor there.
Yeah. Now the reason he has more is because he has more. You have more licenses, right? Like you have more licenses.
Correct.
Okay. So
Yeah,
a normal person would only see the one that they signed up for.
Right.
Even the simple one, the simple control. I think everybody has that one.
Yeah. So you might see simple control, or I don't know about this open control legacy. You really don't need those.
Both of those show up stock too.
Yeah.
So you don't want those. Neither one of those.
No, you're going to want, like I said, Unicore, Flight Scope, Foresight, whichever one matches, or if yours isn't technically supported, you're going to want Open API. Just choose the right one and click on it, and you'll get this window back. And so if there's a connection problem let me see if I can, there we go. So if there's a connection problem, it's because either that window's closed, or you have the wrong window, the wrong connection window, or your launch monitor is not connected to your computer in some way. Right. So that's either going to be, like I said, your Wi-Fi or plugged in USB, Ethernet. But that is probably a super, super common question or little troubleshooting issue that someone who's opening GSPro for the first time has.
And you don't have to close GSPro. Yeah, you don't have to close GSPro to do any of that. You can be in the middle of the round and reset your API and all that. And Alt-Enter and F11, those are two things that I know most people do not know about. And if I tell them to close I'll say minimize GSPro, they can't. They think they have to X out of it or close out of it. So Alt-Enter will minimize the screen, or F11 will minimize the screen. Then you can actually minimize it and get in there and do whatever you want to do with your computer. Click on it, Alt-Enter or F11 again. That'll make it full screen again. But no, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, you either have the wrong one open. I've seen a lot of people choose that simple one. They'll say they got a Garmin R10 and they're trying to get it connected and they can't get it working. And I get on there and I see they chose the simple one instead of the open API. What those two that are there, I have no idea what they're for. They must be for some old stuff that GSPro had back in the day, or maybe there's some stuff that we don't even know about that's using those, but I don't know any of them that use them.
Yeah, since we're talking about a brand new GSPro user, I might as well mention on these connection windows, they usually have a button that says Launch Advanced.
That's right. Yeah.
You can click that.
And you get a pretty little graphic.
Let me switch over. So when you click that button, it will open kind of the...
Yeah, and if you have another extra window or another monitor, this is a good spot to put that.
Yeah, so if you click that Launch Advanced button, it'll pop up this other window, and this will kind of give you your graphical data that, like Derrik said, is nice to put on your computer screen if you've got a projector for the game, and or put this on some other screen. And a lot of people miss that in the beginning. So
and then if you have a Unicore, there's also, well, they might have just updated that. Does the Unicore, I think there's a button on the Unicore adapter now that allows you to see the impact of, at least not for mine anyway. It shows me the impact, but I think the new third party also shows it too now. But
I'm not sure. The last, on GSPro, you could get the impact photo.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, you get the impact photo.
Yeah, get the impact photo on the GSPro connection window. But like in my case, I just always, instead of that, I leave Unicore View open and get all the data from the View software. So you can do it either way. All right, what is next? Okay. how do I know which projector will fit my screen?
How do you know which projector will fit your screen? The best way to answer that is, first off, you need to know what size screen you have. And then you need to know if the projector will do the size that you want from the distance that you need it to be. So like a projector that's 20 years old that does a screen size that's big enough for like a regular golf impact screen, that thing's got to be probably 30 feet back, which means you're going to have huge shadow. Now a newer one that's a short throw, or even one that's not a short throw, it might be somewhere between that 6 and 12, but if you're 6 feet away, that could be a problem if you're hitting it 12 feet away, because now you're going to hit your. So the easy answer, MW632ST. That's the easy answer. Most likely that'll fit any one that you have. And it's
What
cheap.
is that?
That's just a BenQ. It's a BenQ MW632ST. They don't make that one anymore, but they're still available for sale for new. But they fit pretty much every checkbox that I have. To do a 15 by 9 foot screen, it's at about 12 foot. You can put it at 7 foot for like an 8 by 8 screen. Most people don't have bigger than 16, but obviously you just move it back if you want it to be bigger. But it's a $600 projector that's over 3,000 lumens. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Lumens. My rule is 3,000 or more. No lower than 3,000, unless, I guess, if you're in like an enclosed room with no exterior light whatsoever. The darker your room is, the better your projector is going to look. But if you have a little bit of light and you're trying to use like a 1,500 lumen computer, or 1,500 lumen projector, you'll probably be able to see it. It's just not going to look as good as it could. And if you're looking to buy one on Amazon, those people lie about what those lumens are. There's projectors on there that say their lumens are like 40,000. That thing would be like a concert hall size projector. Like it would be like something you would see in Madison Square Garden if it was that big.
Whoa.
Not for $80.
Okay, had a little technical difficulty, lost my internet. We're back. Derrik, you were talking about lumens.
Oh yeah, so lumens from, if you go to an Amazon listing and just type in, if you go to Amazon and type in projectors, you're going to see a bunch of projectors that are, the top ones that come up are like $150, $200, some weird names, and they'll say they're lumen. I guarantee if you did it right now, you'd find one that said a lumen was a crazy high number. You're not going to find really anything over, I mean, what's like 4,000 maybe, 4,000 or 5,000 right now is about all you're really going to get for a good, like a real lumens, which is the brightness of what's being put out. I've seen people that's done those cheap projectors. If you're in a dark room, you can get away with it. It's not going to look the greatest, but it kind of depends on what your setup is. If you're just wanting to get started, yeah, sure, I guess. I mean, it'll work. You'll be able to play. But if you're wanting like, the super 4K stuff, you got to have a 4K projector. But if you're using a 4K projector, you got to have a graphics card that's going to allow you to do 4K. And then you have to run the software in 4K. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I hear you too. Yeah, you're good. You sound fine.
The days of technical difficulties, man. I
know. I'm the one supposed to have the problems today.
Jeez.
I feel better now.
Well, on the projector stuff, I was going to show a couple of resources.
Yeah.
So one is you can go to the website Projector Central.
Let's look up that MW632. 632?
There it is. Okay, so on Projector Central, you can go to the throw calculator. And so what this does is you can search for any projector like we just did. We selected this projector. And you can put in your screen size.
That's diagonal. If you want to change that diagonal to, I go by height more than width because you can fix width. Height's harder to fix.
Yeah. And so based on this projector's throw ratio and this image size and this aspect ratio, we'll make it ceiling mounted. Check this box here. It's going to tell you approximately where the projector will need to be mounted. And this, in this case, it's 10 foot 1 inch from the screen based on the projector's throw ratio and the size of the image that you want to project. You can basically look at your options for projectors and throw them in here based on the screen size that you think you're going to have and see if that's going to work for you. Another option, switch, this BenQ Golf Sim Planner. So This is from BenQ, obviously, and it's going to work similarly, but for BenQ's projectors only. And you can kind of make a full 3D model that shows you every dimension in here. And same thing, you'll select the BenQ projector that you want. We'll go with like this one. Put in your image size. We're going to change the aspect ratio. We'll change the height to feet or whatever. But anyways, you can adjust that based on the dimensions of your room and the screen size and all of that. And then you've got this really cool 3D cover that basically shows you.
I did not know about this.
Exactly where the projector is going to be placed and how you can visualize how it might work.
I did not know this existed.
Did you not?
Nope.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, even got a little sky track down there.
That should be the answer then for will this projector work? Just do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
But of course, it's only going to work for BenQ. So
right.
If there's something else you're looking at, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Optima,
I mean, projectors
Optima
to me
BenQ,
are the most annoying part of the whole thing. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah. Now it's getting better because BenQ, like they're doing all the new auto fit, like on this A700 ST that I have. You can kind of just put it up in the generally correct place and click a button and it'll automatically, fit.
And
so you don't have to.
But that projector is what, like, is it 15 to 8? That projector costs 15 to 1800, something like that.
It was about 1800, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so that's an easy fix. And that's a 4,000 lumen. Is that what that is?
4,000 lumens. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know. Do you think you can see much of a difference between 3,200 and 4,000?
Well, before this, I had the TH671 ST, which is 3,000 lumens. So between 3,000 and 4,000, I can definitely notice a difference.
Okay.
Like you said, for 3,000, it's just fine. I mean, it's fine. If I have all my lights on, it'll look a little bit washed out,
right?
But it's not anything that is
still see.
Not going to work.
Right.
But if I turn the lights off and then turn on my track lights and just kind of control the lighting, make it really dark in here, it'll look great. Mm-hmm. With the 4,000 lumens on this one, I don't really feel the need to turn the lights off that much. I mean, it looks good with the lights on.
I'm getting ready to try a 4,000 lumen the next couple days. I've never had one in here before, but I have one to try.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd agree. I think 3,000 is minimum. You're not gonna hate it. It's not anything that's gonna cause a problem. 3,000 lumens.
Yeah, you get into those cheap ones on Amazon. If you start looking, they'll actually show you the real lumens. And they were like, one of them I saw was like 800 or 900 lumens, but they call it like some other weird number lumens. That's not really the right lumens. I have to look and see. I'm sure I can find one. Okay, here's a 20,000 lumen laser. All right, here, I'll share my screen just to give an example here. Let's go to this one right here. Okay. So this looks like, hey, that's a projector. It's what I'm looking for. It's $200, 2,000 or 20,000 L, which might make you think that's lumens. It's not. Oh, it's even $70 off, so it's only 130. Let's see if it really shows what it really is. Right here, see, it's 600. This is the lumen number you're looking for, the ASIN lumen. This they're trying to make it word it for people that don't know any better.
Yeah.
Or it's like,
careful.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's some that are on it. See, this one actually shows 650. 22. See, look, you would think that, this one must be 22,000. No.
There's a reason stuff costs what it costs.
Yeah. And like I'm saying that MW632 there's replacement bulbs, but say here's a new one, $600. And that's a 3,200 lumen, which I think's a decent price for. It's a good projector for a low cost that you're not in the thousands.
Well, the last question that I get the most often, I don't know if you get this one a lot, but how far is your screen from the ball? That's on probably every other video that I do, just randomly. How far is your screen to the ball? I can answer for me, and I'm on the long side. I've got 11.5 feet.
That's almost exactly what mine is.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Which I think, obviously, the further you go back, the more your 60-degree wedge is going to be that top kind of corner.
Yeah.
So if you have a homemade enclosure and it's not the safest, you probably want to be closer than 10 foot, 11 foot mark, because your wedges, unless you hit really low, I guess. I mean, some people hit shots lower naturally than others, but I know at 11 feet and my 9.5 foot tall enclosure, there's a 50-50 shot that my 60 degree is going to hit that metal pole up there.
Yeah.
And then you got to do the golf ball dodge dance.
I did 11.5 feet because I wanted as much ball flight as possible for the radar units like the Mevo Plus, to have a chance to get the best, spin readings that they can. But I say probably on average, I don't know if you agree with this, but I think on average, most people are at about 10 feet.
I think that's a good number.
Yeah, I mean, it can be more or less, but I think roughly 10 feet is kind of what I tell people to plan for. And obviously, you can go down to 8. You just want to be careful about bounce back and how much that ball is going to bounce back at you, if that's an issue or not. But somewhere about that.
I think people ask that question for two reasons, though. One, they ask because just, how far away is it physically feel, should you be away from the screen to feel normal and not be, hit with bounce back and all that.
Yeah.
But the other reason is if they have a camera-based system, they say, how much ball flight do you need to the screen? Obviously, you need a certain amount of ball flight for radar, but for camera systems, 2 feet is about all you need for most of them, I think. I don't think most of them read farther than 2 feet of ball movement. So technically you could be 3 feet from the screen, but you wouldn't be able to swing, but that's how much room it needs. Now, with radar, you need that. The longer you have, the better for radar.
Yeah. On a camera unit, just need to be able to swing the golf club, because the golf club's going to be longer than the launch monitor even needs to read. So, but yeah, I mean, that kind of goes with how much space you need, but I get that specific question all the time. How much space from your hitting strip to your screen? So that kind of covered it. Those are the most frequently asked questions that we get about golf simulators.
I'm gonna start writing them down now when they come in, and I'm gonna start calling them out. Like, Bob from Indiana wants to know.
There you go.
Yeah, so if something weird comes up or something I'm not thinking of, we'll maybe add them into at the end of the show or something, and throw them in if anything happens.
Sounds good. Well, this is probably going to be released the week of Thanksgiving. So
I do have one question I get.
Okay.
Now, this would be particular to me. At the bottom of my screen, I don't have any padding at the bottom of my screen. If I had a picture up here, I'd show you, but if I can. So my padding is up the right, over the top, and down. At the very bottom, so you have a black bar at the bottom of your screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when people see mine, they ask me how I did this. So my floor runs right into my screen. So my screen is actually setting 3 inches below my floor.
Okay.
So I built a floor, set the enclosure in, and then built another floor. So the enclosure actually sets below what actually you're standing on.
Yeah.
So that when I putt, the ball runs right into the screen. So it goes grass right into the screen with no big black bar there.
Yeah.
And that's how that works, is that enclosure is set down in the floor. Or you would have to build your floor up around your enclosure. And then that's how you don't have to have that black bar at the bottom of your screen.
Did you, what enclosure do you have?
It's the Amish 5000 model.
Okay.
I literally went to, so I have my I don't think I said this earlier, but it's different. Anyway, I had, my HVAC system is right above the screen. So my air has to get through. I wanted it to be able to get through. So I was going to have to find one that was like a mesh material on top, which wasn't really easy to find. So we have a bunch of Amish in the area, and I tracked down a guy who answered the phone for the Amish and took down the enclosure. I took the metal structure down and set it up. and said, "This is what I need." It was a they build covers for boats for winterizing boats, like canvas custom things. So I explained to him, I was like, I need the fabric to go up and over, and this whole top needs to be a mesh material, and so it's all custom built. I had to show them what a launch monitor was and how it all worked, and so yeah, I took it down to the Amish, and he knocked that out, and it's probably 5 hours or so. But mine's about 9.5. It's 10 feet deep, but the screen is actually goes back another foot or so behind it. But yeah, it's all custom built. And actually, the whole thing only cost me $900.
Do they run any kind of Black Friday sale or?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. I'm sure this is the only one he's ever built. But yeah, he had. Yeah, he knocked it out pretty good. But it's a one of a kind, that's for sure. And I wanted to build it. I wanted to go exactly all the way to my walls. I didn't want to have to buy a stock one that was like 14 foot, or if I could only find one that was 14 and a half or whatever.
Right.
And I had that wasted space. So I built it exactly to the size of the room. And then I built my floor. And then I thought, wait a minute, if I build another floor, I can get rid of that whole bottom bar of the black padding at the bottom and just run right into the screen. So I built another floor on top of my first floor.
Makes sense.
That's why that little step off behind me is like 3 or 4 inches.
Yeah.
It should only be like 2 inches, but I'm an idiot and build the floor twice. Yeah, so I get that one a lot, but that's a more just me thing.
Well, that pretty much wraps up this show. I should mention that if you're watching this video, it's on its own YouTube channel, the Sim Golf Show YouTube channel. So make sure to subscribe to that so you can see the next ones. The first 2 of these shows we put on my channel, but from here on out, they're going on the Sim Golf Show, its own channel. So make sure to subscribe to that. And so this should be coming out the week of Thanksgiving. Not sure if we are going to be able to record the next one on the actual week of Thanksgiving. We'll have to see if our schedules work or not, but might be a week off. And happy Thanksgiving to all of those out there. And appreciate your comments and everything so far on the show.
Did we come up with a fancy sign-off tagline or song or dance? I think you said you had a song planned and a dance, right? Let's see that. Go ahead.
All right, Bruce McDuffer.
All right.
We'll see you next time.
All right.